stuck in the middle with you. And it's just
He's been on the
me.
right side for me.
Huh.
You know what I realized is a timeless classic song today?
What?
No Hands by Waka Flocka Flame.
Oh my gosh. You're just
Is
the
that
most
Shut your
unbearable
fucking
person.
poor mouth.
God.
Jesus Christ.
is that not
You
such a
gotta
great
open up
song?
the podcast with the fucking dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Go back and listen to it. Christian's trying to put on a front. If he went back and listened to it, he would text us and be like, you know what actually is a pretty good song.
I feel like you
Literally
already
not.
pre-planned to drop No Hands by Waka Flocka at the beginning of this and just figured out a segue for me singing.
I didn't. I was listening to it on the way home.
Why?
Okay. Because it's a great song. Wait, hang on. I want to make sure, because I can still kind of hear myself echoing, but I have echo cancellation turned on. I don't know, man. If we can't figure out the audio at this point, it's like...
I mean, for fuck's sake.
Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Totally Biased Music Podcast. We are your hosts, Blake, Christian, and Trey, and today we are doing a fucking genre switch up at the request of Trey and Christian. I would like it to be known. I would like it to be exclusively hip-hop music. They, however, will not let me do that. So, today we are talking about Audioslave's debut album. For those of you that don't know, Audioslave is essentially a rock supergroup that used to essentially be Rage Against the Machine when their lead singer, Zach De La Rocha, I think is how you say his last name.
It's
Rocha.
hard to see. Yeah.
Left Rage Against the Machine. Chris Cornell came in and they created the band Audioslave. So we're debuting their first album today, released in November of 2002 through Interscope Records. And yeah, let's get into it. It's gonna be weird not talking about hip hop, but let's fucking do it.
Speaking of hard C's, I just want to throw out there that I bet Chris Cornell had a fucking monster cock.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine. If your voice is that deep, it's just gotta be a rager.
It's funny though. Sometimes it's
Big
not.
boy.
Sometimes his voice isn't deep, and sometimes it really is. I don't know. It's
He had
weird.
He had a lot of
bouncing
range.
back. Yeah, he did. It was great. But yeah, I would second that. I bet his dick was huge. Anyway,
Yeah, it had to be massive.
So launching into this, this album came out obviously forever ago. We were wee little children at the time. But when did you guys first listen to Audioslave's debut album, Audioslave?
Before we really dive into the album, I kind of want to address something you just said about how this is just at me and Christian's request. Me and Christian have the musical palette of someone who's not 18 years old.
Okay.
So, I just want to make sure it's understood that we will be doing other genres that aren't just rap or from people whose favorite song of the moment is No Hands by Waka Flocka Flame.
Never said it was my favorite song of the moment. Just wanted to appreciate its timelessness. That's it. All
right.
But I also think it is extremely representative of you only wanting to do rap music and your limited palette in music.
Here's the thing. I love all music. I just would rather talk about hip-hop music because it's the superior genre. But we don't have to get into that right now,
That's fair. Let's go back to the album. First time that I heard this album, I really couldn't tell you. I remember the first time that a song from the album kind of made an impact on me, and that would be Shaun White Snowboarding. There is a song on this album that's on the Shaun White Snowboarding video game, which came out. When do you think that video game came off the top of your head?
I don't know. I remember that being a thing. It was like probably mid-2000s, back when he was like at the height of his Shaun Whiteness.
Right, yeah. It was it's a Gasoline. So like you're cruising down a mountain. It's a fun little video game. And this like ripper of a track comes on. The whole soundtrack's fantastic, by the way. I bet I can find that on Spotify. But yeah, this is one of those albums that just kind of slowly folded in just as time went on, as kind of got into music more in this genre for me. So not like a specific first time I listened to it.
Okay.
Christian?
I think mine was I was probably 11 or 12 years old or something. So I don't know. I feel like I keep telling these stories about my dad, but he had a fucking just ripper taste in music, from everything from The Prodigy to fucking Dr. Dre to all kinds of shit. But during this era, it was like he was always big on this kind of stuff. Audioslave, Soundgarden, fucking Alice in Chains, Tool. He was big on that kind of stuff. And his big thing for like me and my brother was like to soccer or to baseball games and stuff. He would blast like hype music pretty much to get us fucking ready to go play if it was a game or practice or whatever. And this was back in the very much like you buy a CD era and you're rinsing the CD out. And I remember heading to a baseball game and him dropping this on, and that first fucking track, what is it? Is it Koch Eyes?
Yeah, I
Is that how
actually
that's
didn't. I
pronounced?
didn't know how to say that. I still don't know how to say it. I thought it was. I mean, I guess Koch eyes makes the most sense. Or
Just to
yeah,
Cohesive.
keep with the hard C trend we got going on here, let's just go with cockeyes.
Koch
Yeah.
eyes.
And
Okay.
there's no way that's how that's pronounced.
I thought it was gonna be concise. I don't know. I don't know how to say that word. Hang on, keep talking.
We're
And I'm
we're
gonna look it up.
damaging our we're damaging our reputability right now, so let's just move on from this. Anyways,
I got really scared, so I
and
could
that's
regularly spell concise for a second, and we'd all look like idiots. Sorry, go ahead.
Cochise. Cochise is how you say it.
yeah, I'll coach cheese all over your fucking face later on.
Okay.
Anyways,
Okay.
he fucking
Moving on.
like he ripped that, and that's the first track, and that track fucking rides. Like it absolutely just bangs. And so that was my first, just like windows down, headed to fucking baseball. Was like 11, 12 years old, just getting fully torqued to Kachi's.
Yeah. Um, so I don't. I'm kind of with Trey. I don't remember the exact first listen to this. I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day about. I was kind of blinded to a lot of this music that wasn't Nirvana because Nirvana was like the first kind of heavy rock band I got into. I mean, obviously grunge music, but I listened to like exclusively Nirvana and their albums religiously. So I didn't really explore Audioslave. I didn't explore Rage Against the Machine or Metallica because I was kind of so wrapped up in Nirvana that I had blinders on essentially. So it took me a while to realize that I loved that type of music, not just Nirvana. And so branching out, listening to more Metallica, listening to Rage Against the Machine, and then eventually listening to Audioslave. I think when I got really into the self-titled album was in college. I used to listen to it religiously in college and kind of just play it. I didn't drive around much, but I still had the Jeep at the time for a little bit. It had a great sound system, and I used to play this album religiously front to back. It's one of those that I don't know the we can talk about it more later, but the variation in the tracks and kind of the energy of each one, it just fits together really well. So I don't know. There was always some Audio Slave song that I could put on to kind of fit with the mood at the time, which I think is kind of indicative of how good the album is. I do want to know all the lyrics in the entire album are written by Chris Cornell. Of course, all the music is composed by all of them, but everything is written by Chris Cornell. So we can get more into that later, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool to have the Rage Against the Machine sound, especially Tom Morello's guitar, without kind of like the politically charged lyrics. And like, I love Rage Against the Machine, and I obviously vibe with it where they come from politically. But like, Chris Cornell is like more like self-reflective shit, and like actually, you know, a little bit more typical of rock music like this is really nice to hear with just absolutely insane guitars and drums.
Yeah, their sound goes really well with Chris's voice and like
Yeah.
that type of music, right? It's like it's almost I view it less as a Rage Against the Machine supergroup and more of like a Soundgarden supergroup because the sound leans way more towards Soundgarden than it does Rage Against the Machine just because of that front man. But they do what Soundgarden did so much better than Soundgarden did it, you know? Like I just feel like they're all of them coming together to make that type of music versus the Rage music um, worked really well. I mean, I like Audioslave more than I like Rage Against the Machine personally, but that may just be kind of my preference in that type of music.
No,
No,
I think it
I
goes
do as
kind of
well.
to what Trey was saying of just like with Rage, it is very much that just like so politically charged that It's almost like things today. It's almost just like it can get a little exhaustive. It's like, we get it. The government's bad. Wah, wah. Let's just fucking consistently cry. It's just, I just don't care enough anymore to fucking hear people harp about it consistently. And I don't really have the energy to give to it. So it's like, oh, let's put this on. It's got that same sound, but it's got that little sad boy ride vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the time,
vibes.
I got to stand up for Rage Against the Machine because at the time it was just pretty groundbreaking, like what they were singing about and the scale at which they were singing about it. Nowadays, they partner with Live Nation and sell out massive arenas and things like that on their reunion tour. So all good things die in the light or whatever. Yeah, but like.
Everybody sells out eventually.
That's why I like Audioslave more, because it just feels like more genuine, real music. And Chris Cornell's voice is like probably top 3, top 4 rock singers' voices ever. It's like Robert Plant, Chris Cornell,
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. Well, I think like even Kurt doesn't particularly have a great voice. I'm sure we'll talk about Nirvana at some point, but Chris has a great voice, but it's also really iconic, where when you hear it, instantly it's him, right? It's like so indicative of his sound. Whereas like in 80s music, you could put on a fucking 80s song from a hair band and I wouldn't be able to tell you who was singing what song. Like they all sound the exact same. Whereas like Chris has such a distinctive voice when he sings that it kind of sets him apart from everybody else, which I really love.
Yeah, when I was like ripping through this whole album, I don't know, in my head I kind of separated these into like these 2 types of tracks throughout the album, and it's either these fucking banger tracks that in terms of like production and how they were put together feel very Rage based, taking kind of down a notch or up a notch, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it, based off of just with Chris's voice, that are almost, in my opinion, ruined a little bit by these like out of nowhere, kind of all over the place, sounding very ragey breakdowns that happen, towards the back half of songs, or they're these kind of super, super mellow type tracks with these banger styled choruses that almost kind of save the track for me, in my opinion.
But, yeah, I was wondering when you texted us earlier how you were like, I don't miss these sounds. I didn't really know like what you were talking about when you said that. Like,
it's just the chaoticness of some of the really like the guitar, or like it almost has like a Middle Eastern influence in some of the breakdowns that I'm not a huge fan of. I think it like works for the songs, but towards the later half of the album, it gets a little old to me.
Okay, I can see that. That makes sense. What are your, I guess we can start with Trey, but what are your top, or I guess bottom 3 tracks on this album?
Wait, my top 3 or my bottom 3?
Your bottom 3.
Okay. Okay, so Exploder, I could kind of take or leave. I really only have 2, and then I think this isn't necessarily because of the track specifically, but kind of related to what Christian said. I think by the end of this album, it drones on a bit. Just like the back half is like the front half of this album is like very high energy. The back half, it's a little more like, I don't know, slower. So I'd say Light My Way. I could like throw that out of the last 5 songs, but I just like my least favorite because of like where you are in the record, probably.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like if it were somewhere earlier, you would like it better.
Like there's nothing wrong with it specifically. Exploder, I don't think is a very good song.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Christian, what about you?
Yeah, it was when I was listening to them and I'm like taking notes, I always try and like really determine which tracks I hate, but it wasn't necessarily anything on this that I like hated or just really disliked. They were just kind of like meh, and it was Exploder. So I'm with Trey on that one. I'm with Hypnotize and What You Are. They just like, they weren't bad. It's just they're not like, oh, I'm super into these.
Yeah, no, that's fair. For me, I don't like The Last Remaining Light, the very last track on the album. And then I don't know, that's Shadow of the Sun, I guess, is probably another bottom one for me. But other than that, man, there's really not much fat on this album. It's so
Shadow of the Sun is on there for you. You're an idiot.
Dude, that's one of my favorite songs too. I was gonna say that. Yeah, I think Shadow of
Okay.
the Sun is like the one of the perfect like blends on the album where like you still have Tom Morello going nuts at the end, um, and Chris Cornell's like he gets the chance like let his voice shine a bit. You're an
Well,
interesting character.
what are your top songs then?
Um, I would say, hold on. I Am the Highway is awesome. Um, I mean, it's like a staple, really. Shadow of the Sun was gonna be on the top ones. Gasoline's on my top one. Like a Stone is awesome. Conquisi, con cheese, whatever it was that we decided how we're gonna
Cochise.
It's
pronounce it.
fucking bro. It's
Cochise.
Cockeyes.
Guys.
Cockeyes.
It's
That's what it was.
Cochise.
Cochise, which by the way, I did look that up, and it's apparently the name of a of like a Native American like chief or something, which is like kind of par for the course for like Tom Morello's whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coat one more time.
Cochise.
Cockeyes.
Yeah, but that's it for my top tracks.
Okay. Christian, what about you?
Yeah, Cockeyes just dummy banger. It also made me kind of think of.
I feel like you're just saying it so you can say Cockeyes. Like I feel like
I
before
kind
it
of
was
feel that way
probably
too.
yeah, like
It is on my list at the very top. So whatever. It is fun to say. But I also was thinking about, and maybe I'm wrong here, so y'all can correct me. But during this like big CD era, I feel like how tracks were put on albums was really different. It wasn't so much like journey based almost, where the first track is always, in my opinion, some fucking just banger fucking track. So it's back radio era still. So like that's what they're sending out to people. So that first track is always kind of like this heater. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I was just thinking about that when I was listening to the album all the way through. What else do I have? Show Me How to Live, Gasoline, Like a Stone, Shadow of the Sun. Set it off, but I love and I hate it. So like it bangs, but I also thought that like that's the track that like a youth minister like is listening to like on his way to Wednesday church so that he can identify with the younger kids, and he like thinks he's edgy because it says the F word in it, and
yeah, I was
he
gonna say
like
it's like one of the only tracks with the F word in it.
and he like blanks it out thinking
Yeah.
like he's doing something good. That's
Yeah.
like how I
Turns the
imagine that
radio
song.
down in the car really quick, like just for that word, and cranks it back up. Christian knows
He's
this
like
because he used to go to Wednesday night church all the time.
yeah, it's the same
Uh,
youth minister that played Not Afraid by Eminem on repeat when it came out. Like it's that same energy.
Yeah, and he would like pull up into the parking lot because all the kids would be outside, throwing the football or something. He'd have the windows down.
Yeah,
He'd have
he's
too
like, "Oh,
much air
I didn't
gelling.
expect you guys to be out here." Like, you just wanted, you just wanted everybody to hear him playing that.
Not like other youth pastors. I'm a cool youth pastor.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, those are good. I mean, you listed off a ton of tracks, but in your defense, it's hard to pick favorites on an album this good. Trey, are you typing up an essay like during this podcast, or what's going on? Because
What are you talking
like
about?
I can't be the only one that hears that, right?
Yeah, I'm curious. What are you doing?
Yeah, what
Oh,
are you
sorry.
doing?
I'm just answering some emails. I'm multitasking here.
We're trying to create a
Oh, okay.
professional environment here for our listeners, and
Yeah, you're going professional in the wrong way. You're going like office professional.
Listen, I was joking. I'm not answering emails. I am pulling up my tweets, dude. I'm just getting my tweets ready.
All right, we'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Thank you.
and what he meant by that is he's researching them right now as we're having this
No,
podcast.
no, I just had an idea for a really good tweet. We'll come back to this moment later, and y'all be like, all right, that was pretty cool, Trey, which is a sentence I don't think either one of you have ever fucking said.
Okay, so my favorite tracks, I'll do a top three. I Am the Highway, number one. I think it's the best song on the album. I think Chris's vocals like really, really shine in it, and it is a slower track, but I Am the Highway and Getaway Car both being slow tracks, they put him in like the perfect position for me within the album that it just kind of it brings the whole thing together and kind of gives you a reprieve from going from Shadow and the Sun to Exploder. Like having I Am the Highway in between that really kind of helps that transition. Gasoline, and then Show Me How to Live. Definitely those are my top three. And then honorable mention, Set It Off, and Cock Eyes.
I have a question for the two of you. Which one of these songs makes you want to run through a wall the most?
Okay.
Like get like super aggressive and just like literally run through a brick wall.
Probably Set It Off for me.
Yeah, 100% Set It Off. But actually, I take that back. It's Cock Eyes.
Okay. Again, I feel like you just circled back to say that word, but that's cool.
That's it. We're dropping that bit. It's over. Cut it.
What is it? Comedy comes in threes. Have we already used that joke 3 times?
Yep, easily.
Okay, so first week sold 162,000 copies, certified gold by the end of the month, and has since gone triple platinum, almost 4 times platinum. I do want to bring up, this is kind of an interesting era for, I think, music as a whole. I thought my cat was trying to get in the room, but I don't think she is. It is an interesting era for music as a whole, right? Like we're leaving the grunge era of rock music. 80s music, thank fucking God, is dead, buried in the ground, never to be resurrected ever again.
Buried with
for the
Ronald
rest
Reagan.
of eternity. Buried with Ronald Reagan. And so we're kind of in this weird in between phase of heavy rock music becoming less grungy. But to me, this album, I feel weird not calling it a grunge album. I guess technically they consider it a hard rock album, I think is the genre of it. It feels like grunge music to me, but it also doesn't feel right to call it grunge music. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is like the tail end of grunge music, or do you think it kind of started a new era of rock music? Was it the end of one or the beginning of a different one?
Christian God.
I think it was. I think it's the start of that kind of hard rock. I definitely would not label this as grunge from a production standpoint. It doesn't sound that way at all. Didn't they have Rick Rubin come out and help with help with production on this? So I think from a production standpoint, it just sounds too clean to even be considered grunge. It definitely has like the rage sound, but without so much of just like the grunginess that you want to hear. I think from something that you'd label as a grunge album, it sounds too well produced to be called that.
That's fair. I think it's a fair assessment of it for sure. Trey, what do you think?
I think grunge music just inherently has like a negative connotation because so much of it was dog shit. So we want to be hesitant to call this grunge music. But I think it still is kind of in that very much in the realm of the early '90s type sound. I think they draw a lot from Nine Inch Nails sound for this record. Like some of the more like experimental sounds. I think like it's on the back end. I want to say it's on Hypnotize, but like Tom Morello is almost using his guitar like he's like scratching like a turntable, and like kind of just using effects like that, which I think kind of draws from that type of sound. So I would say it is grunge music, but it's like really, really, really good grunge music, like the best grunge music outside of Nirvana, and even that could be potentially debatable. But yeah.
I think the only thing that made me not feel that way is just like this kind of, in my opinion, I was listening to some of the tracks and you know what they felt like? They felt very anthem-y. And to me, that was the start of this kind of like new rock era. Like when I was listening, mainly it's percussion based. So it's like a lot of the drums and stuff and drum patterns, they sound very like those anthem-y type songs that I feel like came after this, just listening to it.
Yeah, it's weird going back and looking. So 2002 rock albums, we had Songs for the Deaf, Queens of the Stone Age album. There was a Beck album. There was an Avril Lavigne album. There was
hold on really quick. Which Avril Lavigne album is that? Because one of them is really good.
Let Go.
Hold on, I gotta look up the color. Yeah, dude, that album's awesome. Anyway, go ahead.
There's a Silverchair album, a Pearl Jam album, and that's pretty much the heavy hitters from 2002, and then going into 2003, Elephant by White Stripes, We all know that. Hail to the Chief by Radiohead. Linkin Park started to come into the mix here. So yeah, it's this weird cross genre of rock music where it's like a fucking clusterfuck of different types of rock music all being categorized into rock, right? Because like the White Stripes album and Hail to the Chief are nothing alike, and that Audioslave album and the Linkin Park album aren't really that similar either, but they're all considered rock music. It was this weird blend that they kind of came into the crux of like a transition in rock music, and I think it kind of helped them set apart their own sound, if that makes sense.
I wouldn't even necessarily call it a transition of rock music. I would just call it more of like a splintering of genres. You know what I mean? Because just like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, everything that was coming out was very much, like you said, like fuck 80s music. But like all that hair metal band shit is the exact same. There's not much, much different about it. And that's kind of what I think grunge did for rock music. What Nirvana specifically did for rock music was like showed people they could do it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So like those three albums, like this one, Elephant, and Hail to the Thief, which is an absolutely incredible record. We should do that one day. Are we gonna have a Radiohead episode, Blake? Blake, can we have a Radiohead episode, please? Please.
Yeah, of course. We can do a Radiohead episode. I have no problems with that. We could bring Zach in. Zach would love to do a Radiohead episode with us.
Yeah.
You guys are way more versed in the Radiohead world than I am. Unfortunately, that's my own fault.
I think you would really enjoy it, especially if you had it as like if you had to do it.
Yeah, and I love A Moonshade Pool. That's probably the only Radiohead album that I listened to like consistently because I listened to it when it came out and rinsed it a bunch. So
I'd be down to,
I'd be down to give a new one a sniff. If that's the direction we wanted to go. Give it a little sniff.
With that honking nose.
But
yeah, those three records are all vastly different. Sorry, I have to finish my point.
No,
that's
you're
it.
good. Yeah, there's so I pulled up this article from Discover Music. I don't really know this publication at all, but the title of it is Audioslave's debut album, a vital record that sounded transcendent. And the headline of it is shaking up the mainstream with some incendiary rock and roll. The Audioslave debut album did something genuinely different. And the beginning of it is basically just essentially talking about what we talked about at the beginning about them being a super group and Chris Cornell's entry into the band. And then they bring up Rick Rubin being involved, who, if you guys listening don't know, Rick Rubin, producer involved with a shit ton of music, mostly hip-hop music, had heavy influences on the Black Album with Jay-Z. He had a number of tracks with Eminem. Huge producer. Can you tell that he has an influence on this album? For me, it's weird. Like, Rick Rubin has a very distinct sound in hip-hop. He does kind of the same thing over and over again. He uses older songs and makes them into a beat. So like I can immediately tell when I hear a Rick Rubin song, but it was weird knowing that he had producer credits on this album because I couldn't really tell. I don't know if he was there just to clean it up or if you guys think there was any other influence in that from a production standpoint.
I personally if I wouldn't have known by just like doing research on the album itself in terms of just listening to it, there's no fucking chance I would have been able to call that out.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know that I can tell that Rick Rubin specifically had like a hand in it. But what Rick Rubin does for rap music is kind of the similar things that he does for rock music, which is he like kind of gives pop structure to like some of these songs. So like kind of what we were talking about, like some of these being anthems and stuff, that sounds like something Rick Rubin would do. So I can't point to like a specific sound and be like, oh yeah, like I can tell Rick Rubin is on this record. It's not like it's
right.
fucking Pusha T coming on a microphone or something. But just that general concept, that's kind of what he's great at.
Yeah,
would have been really nice to hear that Rick Rubin produced Pretty Lights album, but that's just locked away in a vault forever.
Who?
Rick Rubin, Pretty Lights. Derek flew out to his studio
who?
You know, Blake, come on, don't be dumb. We're all just here to have fun. But yeah, Derek flew out to Rick Rubin's studio back in like 2015, it's before, like 2014, 2015, and like supposedly recorded a ton of tracks. Like that song called "Digital as Fuck" that he played at Hangout was recorded by Rick Rubin. But
Interesting.
none of it ever got released. So
Well, it's somewhere. Maybe it'll
life
see
is
the light of
pain.
day.
Maybe
Maybe
one day.
it'll have a quote unquote accidental leak like that Bass Nectar mixtape, and you'll get to listen to it.
If
Um,
only.
I saw I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw like a girl in Heelys. Like she was rolling around in Heelys. She was like 12
Ba-
years old.
like
And
Bass
I
Nectar
was
Heelys.
no, just like Heelys in general. And I was
Okay.
I went up to her. She was probably 12, 13, and I was like, Lauren would love you. And she didn't know what I was referring to.
I really hope her dad was there, and I hope he was a redneck with a massive knife on his hip.
Okay, last quote from this article. Tim Comerford, who was in Rage and an Audioslave, said, I see Audioslave as more classic rock, singer, chord progression type music, things that we never did with Rage Against the Machine. I think back on Rage and I love the way it feels, but then Audioslave happens and it was so different. That's the thing that I'm most proud of. We didn't just come back and make a bunch of riff rock and put Chris's vocals on it. We did something genuinely different. And we touched on that already, but I thought it was interesting that was kind of his take on it, because I'm sure people asked all of them about it all the time. Which one they view as better, which one they enjoyed more. So I thought that was cool.
That is really cool.
Okay, what do you guys rank the album out of 10? Trey, you can lead us off.
I didn't want to go first. I think that this is an easy 9, maybe a 9.5, just because of how fantastic it is for the genre that it's in, and also kind of proved like super bands weren't really like a thing, or super groups, or however you want to call them, weren't really that much of a thing before this. Like there was like a couple. I mean, Led Zeppelin is one, but Led Zeppelin's a little different, right? But there weren't that many that were like terribly successful. And so I think that them like kind of coming together and putting something that wasn't, just like a play on what they've done before is really tight. So I'd give it 9.5. Final answer.
All right, very very fair. Christian, what about you?
I agree with everything Trey said. I'm going to give it like an 8.5, just because I think what I alluded to at the end, it just kind of drones on for a little bit, in my opinion, when I get through sound wise. It doesn't like keep me just like going the whole way through. So I'll give it an 8.5.
That's fair. I'm gonna give it a 9 as well. I love it. I love it beginning to end. Like I said, there's not many tracks that I would cut away from it. I really enjoy it. I think it was definitely a turning point, and a lot of people don't talk about the rest of Audioslave's discography. I think because nothing is going to live up to their debut album, but the rest of their albums are good. I mean, they're not as good as this. They don't really warrant a whole episode, but it did launch a very interesting career, and they made a lot of good music. So it's yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 altogether.
Did they tour?
I
Do you
believe
know?
they did, but I do not know for sure. So they broke up in 2007. Um, I don't know. I'd have to look into it. I don't know if they toured or not. It would be hard to imagine them not touring off of this album, but I don't know. I can't. I'd have to look into it. Oh yeah, in 2005, the band launched a club tour which lasted until May. Although on previous tours, Audioslave occasionally played cover songs. They deliberately avoided playing their former band songs to avoid using these songs as a crutch. So they did tour,
I
which
bet
would
those
have been fucking
shows were
sick to go to.
raucous.
Yeah, dude. I bet this shit was fucking crazy.
Well, you and I saw Chris Cornell one time. It was him by himself at
Yeah,
Hangout.
I also saw him. He opened for Linkin Park. I saw Linkin Park in Atlanta, and he opened up for him.
That's cool.
So, real quick, just I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you looked it up or not, but this album was not well received critically at all. Rolling Stone gave it a 3 out of 5. NME gave it a 4 out of 10. Metacritic has it at a 62 out of 100. But the icing on the fucking cake, the icing on this shit cake is the fucking dipshits over at Pitchfork gave it a 1.7 out of 10. A 1.7 out of 10. And in the intro to the article, it starts with us Gen Xers never gave the world shit. We don't care about anything. We don't care about ourselves. It is time to face that which we fear the most, the second coming of Lollapalooza's grunge rock all-stars. And the crux of the article is them shitting on this album and the band as a whole. But I do have to read you this flaming garbage of a take. About midway through, they say, sure, the pulsing noises and rumbling groan that open Set It Off sound wicked, and Bring 'Em Back Alive and Getaway Car almost don't suck. You could even say that technically Audioslave quote-unquote rock, but they do so emptily, predictably, and without a single new idea. Producer Rick Rubin has fashioned a synthesized rock-like product that emits no heat. It's the worst kind of studio rock album, rigorously controlled, even undercut by studio gimmickry. The rare instances during which the band starts to let go are incidental and abruptly cut off.
How have they been allowed to be so terrible for so long? We're talking about 20 years of douchebaggery over there.
Of just immense fucking horrible takes. The end sentence is duck because America's gonna vomit. Talking about this album. So that, I mean, there's no secret how much I fucking hate all these people. The 3 out of 5 stars from Rolling Stone was bad enough, but man, Pitchfork, if you ever want somebody to write you a real article, just give me a call and I'll save you from the dying embers of your piece of shit magazine that you clearly
Who are the
need.
reviewers? Who are the reviewers on that? Because they can fucking suck our cocks, you know?
Hey, I don't know if we should call them out by name. We have a pretty devoted fan base, so we don't want them to do anything brash.
You're right. You're right.
Also, I want to throw this out there now. When you guys come see us live, look, share the rail. Share the rail with the other podcaster fan bases that are going to be there for our opening acts. We don't want any fights. We just share the rail, okay?
So I didn't know that podcasts actually did what you're describing, where they do a live podcast like in a venue. That's a thing. My sister just went to like a whole weekend of it, and you can so that we're going on like stadium tours at some point, right? Like we're gonna play Wembley.
It's a big thing, but I don't know. I feel like I hear about those all the time, but I feel like the environment of them would be really strange. I don't know how they make that work. I'd have to go to one, I guess, to see how it works, but it seems like it would be awkward.
Well, I think they do like panel interviews, and they have like other people that aren't just on the podcast, like have their own little like time slots. It's almost like a convention vibe.
That sounds fucking horrible.
That sounds cool.
Hey, Christian, we can make absolutely not.
No, it's like going to some fucking marketing convention. Like, I don't want to hear like, if I want to fucking listen to what you have to say, I'll fucking listen to your podcast. I don't need to come jerk you off live.
No, you do, and you need to pay for it too. That's the big...
Christian, you need to pay for it. Lots of money.
Do you not know that we're trying to sell out as fast as possible? I feel like you're like getting in the way of that. I'm trying to quit my job, and you're fucking ruining this for me.
I'm in touch with Charmin. We're gonna do toilet paper ads here in a bit.
Yeah.
Blake's gonna be like, this is what I would use to wipe up every single piece of shit that works at Pitchfork. Buy Charmin.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, any final thoughts on Audioslave's self-titled debut album?
No final thoughts on the album, but I do want to mention the other supergroups that formed in 2001. Because one of them is absolutely incredible. Oysterhead, which is Trey and Stacia from Fish, Stuart Copeland from The Police, and Les Claypool from Primus, which is like the definition.
Fuck Primus, but very cool supergroup. Fuck Primus to my core.
But Les Claypool is incredible, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I also don't fully agree with you. And then the Postal Service, which is a Death Cab for Cutie supergroup, which you all wouldn't really care about.
We would not, you're right.
Yeah. And then Colonel Claypool's Bucket of Brains, which is Les Claypool from Primus once again. Buckethead, who is phenomenal.
Nice.
Bernie Worrell from Parliament Funkadelic, which I don't know. I'm guessing he's a drummer, but I don't really know whom he is. And then some other guy from Primus. So those are some fun supergroups that joined in
So that
2001.
was kind of the era. The
Yeah.
let's
Did you
stop
just say
using.
I don't know whom he is? As if you
No, I didn't
fucking read a
know.
book for once.
said-
Like, what
I
the
said
fuck
who.
was that?
Hey, I did finish my book today. Actually, it was pretty good.
Nice. What book
Yeah,
was
I
it?
know. I know how to read. Sharp Objects, like the HBO TV show.
Oh, nice. How was it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Till the end, like she just kind of dropped the ending like out of nowhere, which is kind of what happens in that TV show too.
Kinda, yeah.
But that TV show has Amy Adams in it, who is a mommy.
Facts, big facts. Can we do a Denis Villeneuve episode? I think that's how you say his name.
I think it's
The guy-
Dennis.
No, I think it's Denis.
Is it?
Because when I watched the Oscars, Dune was out and they called him Denis the whole time because he's French. So it's not Dennis. I thought it was Dennis as well, and it's
cool.
not.
To all of our listeners, we're actually relatively okay with our grammar, but today is just not a great day to show that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I would like to do an episode on all of his movies because they're all fucking phenomenal.
I would be super down. What else did he do? He did Prisoners, right? And then
Yeah.
he does this like foreign film called Sicario. Incendies. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Incendies.
He
That
does
is, like,
Arrival.
Oh yeah, he does Arrival too.
I love that movie. Yeah, I would definitely be down to do that. Have you guys been watching any scary movies? Any October scary movie vibes going on here, or you guys not about
I watched
that?
all 10 episodes of Dahmer yesterday.
All 10 of them?
All 10 one day. I
For
had
real?
I had a record-breaking hangover. And couldn't really
The
move
show
on
didn't
too
make
well.
you sick?
Yeah, I thought it was really good, especially considering it was 10 hours of entertainment. I thought it was fantastic.
How did you think that my impression fared against the show?
I mean, dude, it was just so spot on. It was I almost
Maybe
called you.
that's
like,
why I can't hear. Maybe that's why I can't finish the show is because I just hear Blake's version of the voice.
I would like to point out that you didn't really touch on like how they didn't credit the neighbor, like basically because she was black, which is
Yeah,
super fucked up. Yeah, you
Super
didn't mention
fucked up.
that part, but I think it's
I
because
did
you didn't want to
totally
do her
forget about that.
accent. You didn't want to like
No,
try and
it
do her
wasn't.
accent, which would have
It
been wrong.
wasn't. I'm definitely comfortable enough to do that accent, but I totally forgot about that scene. I was too wrapped up in the everything else that we talked about that I just didn't think about
Oh,
it.
no gay stuff here. I love he actually said gay stuff like many times. Every time he said it, I just heard your voice. It was great. But overall, I really did think Dahmer was really good and really well made, especially, Ryan Murphy the guy from American Horror Story is the one who made it. And he's kind of hit or miss. Like some of his stuff's really good and some of it's just really campy. And I thought it was nice.
Yeah.
That'll be our first podcast merch. It'll just be a T-shirt that says "No gay stuff here."
Or just super gay.
That's way better, actually.
I watched Hocus Pocus for the first time in my life, and I thought it was cool that they found exactly how much makeup it would take to make Sarah Jessica Parker attractive. That I thought was really cool.
That they did.
Like skin samples and do like clinical studies to see what the exact number was.
Like that was like that was the real curse. Was like, you're gonna be attractive, but it's gonna be in a children's movie. Ah! So I thought that was cool.
You've had a girlfriend for so long. How have you never been made to watch Hocus Pocus?
I don't know how I missed that. Well, there's a lot of those movies. Hocus Pocus, I hadn't seen. I've never seen Beetlejuice. Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, I don't know how I missed a lot of those movies, but I did. So now I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, I'm not into any of that stuff. It doesn't I don't think any of it's entertaining.
I love it. I
I know you do.
I've rinsed Hocus Pocus, Beetlejuice, a couple of the old school Halloweens, Friday the 13th. I think this weekend I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street, the OGs.
Yep.
And it's just like, Jesus Christ, it's so fucking bad.
It's so,
Just
dude.
compared, it's so bad.
We fucking watched the original Friday the 13th, like the very first one, and I've seen like we're both big Scream people. Like I love all the Scream movies. I genuinely think all the Scream movies are like good movies, so I watch them because I enjoy them. Whereas like Friday the 13th and those original Halloweens are just like the plot makes no sense. Like it makes absolutely no sense throughout the whole thing, and like that's where that whole stereotype comes from of everybody in a horror movie being fucking stupid. Like every decision they make in those movies, you're like, nobody with common sense would ever make this decision, and it fits so well. Like if anybody had any sense at all, the movies would end 30 minutes in. It's amazing. I also did think it's funny that I was watching it. We were watching it with like a bunch of our friends, and as soon as the movie started, I was like, "Is there any black characters in this movie?" And they're like, "Oh no, it's way too early for that. it's 1980s. That's not it." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fair." But yeah, we've been rinsing the old school Halloween movies and all that stuff. I love them.
Yeah, I never even get like the nostalgia thing. I don't know.
Sorry, you had a fucking shit childhood. I don't know what to tell you.
I had a great childhood. We did fantastic things on Halloween. We always ordered Pizza Hut, and like the neighborhood was filled with nothing but kids. So it was bomb candy. I used to fill up like full on pillowcases of candy and keep it for almost 3 days.
You seem like that's some like fucking rare occurrence. It's just every single suburb ever to ever exist. It's just
I'm just saying I had a decent Halloween growing up. That's all I'm saying.
I think Trey's too much of a cinephile to really appreciate those movies.
Oh my god!
Like, like those movies that are bad. Like Trey can't be the guy that's like, it's so bad I like it. He's just like, bad. It's bad.
Bad. Done.
Done.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Okay. Are we ready? We're about 47 minutes in. Is this normally when we get to it?
We're doing Trey's terrible Twitter takes?
Whoa. Don't say the name before I do the audio cue ever again. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Dun, 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 dun. It's time for Trey's terrible Twitter takes. A phrase that I can say whenever I fucking feel like it because I can't.
Ratcheting again. What the fuck, you dumb motherfuckers.
I gotta play audio out of my computer for this. So this isn't necessarily a Twitter take. This is just something really fucking cool. Brian Robinson Jr. is a running back from the University of Alabama that now plays for the Washington Commanders, which still feels kind of weird to say. I really like the Washington football team. But he got shot he got shot like 6 weeks ago. And he's already back playing football. Brian Robinson was introduced to many men after returning from being shot twice in the leg. Is that not just the coolest thing ever?
It is really fucking cool. I gotta be honest. It is really badass. Like that is probably one of the hardest things I've ever fucking seen because I saw the video.
They introduced him last. Like they let the whole team run out, and then they cut all the music, and then they turned on Many Men, and he just like came out like bobbing up and down.
Trey gets out, tears his ACL.
So many people wish death upon him. His own body is resisting being alive. That seriously is so hard. That is really cool that he did that. Why did he like this? Thing is, I hate feel good stories like this because, like, how much of a bitch am I? Dude gets shot, and then like a week later, he's like, "I'm gonna go play professional football." Bro, if my tummy hurts, I don't go to work at my office job. What the fuck am I doing with my life?
Like, seriously, why is this guy so committed to just getting brain injuries? Like, just chill out for a few weeks, man.
It's crazy. Okay, what else you got?
All right, so this is this is a callback to when I was typing earlier and y'all were complaining, but I remembered this fantastic Twitter account I used to follow. On May 9th, 2019, at Muddin for Jesus, aka Cool Youth Pastor, tweeted out and said, "Let me break it down for you like this, young homie. If you feel like your body needs a release, drop a huge load of inspiring Bible verses on a discouraged friend. Ah, feels so good."
Oh my god. I don't know what the best part of that is, the tweet or the muddin for Jesus.
Oh god.
Oh man, hold on. I gotta just rattle off a couple more of this guy because I mean, just fantastic stuff here. April 20th, 2018. Once again at Muddin for Jesus. The only good loud I'm looking forward to are the screams of the wicked on the day of God's wrath. December 24th, 2017. This Christmas, let's eat a nice home cooked meal instead of our partner's ass. Aight?
Those are great.
One more that I'm done. Muddin for Jesus, November 11th, 2017. Hashtag no nut November. Cute. More like no nut ever.
Oh man.
Cool Youth Pastor just straight up
put me in a
stays
chastity
undefeated.
belt and let me fucking ride, daddy.
Oh man. Okay, do you have some other ones? Or is that it?
I got one more. I got one more for you. All right, so this one actually was just tweeted 31 minutes ago. A little backstory. This is a guy that I knew from college who was like a frat dude who was not the most enjoyable human being.
Sounds awesome.
I'll read out his bio here. Barner and alum, War Damn Eagle, hashtag chop on, hashtag 2A, hashtag America first.
Respect.
Visionary, frequent offender of the unintelligent, NOR/MAL, like their pronouns, saying that he's a normal person. So clever. From
cool.
at War Damn Gray. He said, "Y'all joke about two-hand touch, but I bet it happens in our lifetime. Liberals ruin everything else. Why would they stop at football?"
Why would they stop at football? It doesn't add up.
This
if
guy's
the liberals are going to take everything from us, they're going to take football next. I've been saying this.
It's easy. It's just easily next up.
Let me tell you, the football that liberals want is just gay sex with with male cheerleaders only. So for most conservative men, that would actually be seen as an upgrade, although they'll never admit that. Oh God.
What are these liberals doing to our sweet, fantastic country? All right, I got one more for you, then we're done. At who TF is Giovanna on October 4th of this year, aka the notorious JOV, says, "My son is going to be so mad when I name him Garrett, short for Cigarette."
Oh, I love it. Okay,
that's it.
wrap it up.
I'm out.
Okay,
That wraps it up.
I do have to read you guys this Reddit post that I meant to read last time, but I forgot. So the subreddit is Psychonaut. So I'm sure Trey knows what that is, but for anybody that doesn't, it's for people that take psychedelic drugs and they post stories or findings or beliefs on this subreddit. Little sidebar, there is a great story on this subreddit. It's the top post of all time on it. It is the story of a guy who watched the Twin Towers fall in New York City on LSD. The story is fucking crazy. Go read it if you haven't. Anyway, this post This post is took shrooms, am now convinced my dad is gay. That's the title. The body is, I can't explain it. When I'm peaking on mushrooms, I have the strongest hunch that my dad is gay. Just like a strong feeling, and it feels almost as if it's the universe gifting me with great insight. I'm sorry if this is a wacky or random post, but it's truly messing with me. Please, any help or tips or similar experiences would help me, please. Top comment is, LMAO, ask the shrooms for sacred knowledge about the universe, gets your dad is gay. So I thought that post was great, and I had to read it to you guys.
What a terrible realization that would be, especially if you found out you were right.
Yeah, that would be traumatizing, actually. But it would be kind of cool, like, because then, like,
I'm assuming. I mean, it wouldn't matter unless I'm assuming the guy's dad's married to his mother. So
right, and I feel like he would be at war with himself because, like, on one end it would be like, holy shit, my dad's gay, but the other end it would be like, the shrooms did give me some introspective knowledge that I did not have prior to that experience.
His dad's like
knock the
actually
shrooms.
just married to a gay man, and he's on shrooms. Like, I got this weird hunch my dad's fucking gay, bro.
Like these mushrooms are making me see shit.
He's adopted. His dad's been married to a man for 20 years.
I don't
He's
think my
like,
dad and
"Something's not
Steve
right
just.
here."
I don't think my dad and Steve just sleep in the same bed to save space. Like, I don't think that ceremony where they both wore tuxes and maybe bring him rings had anything to do with their business dealings.
Holy shit!
I don't think the gimp suit was just for Halloween.
Oh my god!
All right.
All right.
With that being said, this wraps up the third episode of Totally Biased Music. If you have stuck around thus far and you are listening to the third episode, we fucking appreciate it. Spread the word. Follow the page on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whatever you want to do. We do have an Instagram now. I will put the tag, Instagram
Handle.
name?
I think it'll be Instagram handle. Yeah.
I'll put the handle in the bio along with mine and Trey's Twitter. Trey will probably deny you from following him because he's afraid of his work. I will not. I accept all followers, come one, come all.
I'll deny you.
Anyway, that about does it. You guys got any thoughts?
Hey,
No
I've been
thoughts,
curious
but-
about something.
Okay, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, tune in next Tuesday for more terrible takes, more strong opinions, and more fart jokes. We will see you guys in a week. Goodbye.
I love a good fart joke.